Hey guys, welcome to Farm Charm Chic. I'm Emily. In today's episode, I have put together 10 of my Christmas wall hanging or sign DIYs. I really think you guys are going to like these. If you like crafting, DIYs, dupes, hacks, thrift flips, or just creating in general, I would love if you would consider subscribing and becoming my crafting BFF. If you do like any of today's projects, remember to hit that thumbs up, but let's get right into the DIYs. I am such a sucker for a really good wreath, and I fell in love with this holiday Magnolia wreath, but check out that price. I totally had sticker shock for $110. No way. We definitely can do better. Hobby Lobby has these beautiful Magnolia wreaths. They have them year-round in their floral section. Their normal price is $50. Guys, do not pay $50 for this wreath. Their floral goes on sale every other week. Buy it when it's 50% off. The quality is unmatched. Even the Magnolia floral arrangements and wreaths that I saw at Magnolia Farm in Waco were not anywhere near what this wreath is. So definitely pick one up when you have the chance. The nice thing is I can dress this wreath up for Christmas, and then everything is removable. So I can take it all down and have this wreath for the rest of the year. So I bought 3 evergreen sprigs and cut them down to be 6. And then I bought 1 sprig of berries or pick of berries, and I cut it down to have 6 little sections also. I'm just bending the little stem on the back of the evergreens to kind of mimic the shape of the wreath. And then what I do is hold it really close to that base of the wreath, and then using some floral wire, I just wind it on kind of like a twist tie, if you will. And I'll go sometimes to the front and then to the back, like bring the wire around to the back, twist it, and if it's long enough, bring it back to the front and twist it, if that even makes sense. I'll let you just kind of watch what I do as I twist all of these on, but I just kind of go around sporadically with the wreath, making it symmetrical between the evergreens and then the berries. Before I wire the berries in, I do kind of what I guess you would call a dry fit with all of them to make sure that the spacing is good, that I like the different picks in each different area that I'm placing it. There's such a bold statement on the wreath that I wanted to make sure that they did look really good where they were. I'm going to remember to remove that price tag because I want people to think I bought this at Kirkland's. Look at how good it looks. I love it. You guys, these Magnolia wreaths, or the leaves on the wreath, are so easy to manipulate and kind of move around to fill out where you need to. I love them. Here is a look at the inspiration piece from Kirkland's website that was $110. Here is mine. What do you guys think of this one? I love how it turned out. Here it is on my front door, and I would say that less than $40. So from $110 to $40 is not bad. Plus, I can use this wreath year-round after I take out the evergreen sprigs and the berries. I'm so excited to show you this DIY. It's almost like 4 DIYs in one, but I love how this turns out. So this cute little sign I found just recently, like this last week at Dollar Tree. It's a cute little laundry sign, and I loved that it had the little pegs on it. And I knew immediately what I wanted to do with it when I saw it. So I just sprayed some water on it, and I'm just using my putty knife to scrape off that glue. It may take you a few minutes to get all of that scraped off, but it worked better to scrape it than to sand it, in my opinion. Once that dries, I just take a little bit of white white chalk paint on a chip brush, and I'm just dry brushing this on. I just really wanted a nice faded look to it. So you can paint it a different color if you want, or whatever you want to do with it, but that's the style that I was going for. Now I'm taking a sleigh from Dollar Tree. I'm actually going to do 3 different sleighs here in this DIY. This first one, I'm going to paint the base of the sleigh here, the part that you would write on, white, and then I'm going to paint the bottom part of the sleigh here just in black, just doing a traditional farmhouse palette. And each of the sleighs that I'm doing are each a different type of sleigh also. So if you can find a variation, do that, or whatever works, or whatever you've got on hand. Now I'm taking some foam core board, and I want a wreath to go on one of my sleighs, and so I didn't have a wreath small enough because these sleighs are kind of teeny, so I just thought I would make my own. The greenery here is just off of the boxwood picks that you pick up at Walmart. I love those boxwood picks. You can use them all year, and I feel like you can get so many projects out of them. So definitely when you're at Walmart, look at their florals and pick a couple of those up. You will not regret it. So now I just cut off the littlest, teeniest size of the leaves that I could, and I just glue them all the way around and fill in all the gaps and everything so you cannot see that. And you could use cardboard if you don't have foam core board, something like that. And now I'm just taking some little teeny tiny red berries. This is also off of a pick that I got at Walmart, and I just glued those all the way around, just kind of to bring in a little pop of color into that. So now moving on to our second sleigh, I am going to stain with just my Waverly antiquing wax the portion of the sleigh that you would sit on here, like the base of that, and then on the bottom, and the name escapes me of what these would be called, like the blades of the sleigh maybe. I'm painting those black, and then I will stipple on some metallic here, silver, because I wanted this to look like maybe it was aged metal, was kind of what I was going for, and so I just went all the way around to do that. This cute little deer ornament came from Dollar Tree. It came like 2 to a pack, so I just took this and put a decent amount of hot glue and just held that down till it was completely dry. I wanted this sleigh to look like it had a little bit of snow on it, so I'm just putting some white chalk paint on a chip brush, and I'm just dabbing that up and down. And after I did this, and I'm just doing it kind of as if the sleigh was propped up against something where the snow would naturally fall, and I decided that the white paint wasn't cutting it, so I take a little Mod Podge, I do the same thing over the paint, and then I'm just going to take some glitter, and this would be completely optional. I know some people do not like glitter, but I just thought that it added a little something to this sleigh, and I just sprinkled that glitter over the top of this where that Mod Podge is, and I just shake that off, and I just think that adds the perfect touch of snow on there. And then you just kind of, when you can see I pull it upside down and I just tap it all off to get that off of there. And I just thought it looked so cute. So now I'm taking the third sleigh here, and I wanted to do this in a traditional like brown and red metal type of sleigh look here. So the base of the sleigh on these, I'm just taking some red paint, and I will get that on the sides here all over the bottom there. And then I'll also do that on like the crossbar, and you'll see how I do that here in just a second. You can see over there. And I just thought that would be really cute. In my mind, that's where the red part of the sleigh would be. And then I just use antiquing wax to do the rest of it. And so that's how that goes. And for some reason in my mind, that little piece, it was like a piece of wood that would be going up that metal would fasten to. So that's why I chose to do that. So anyway, I just went ahead around with my little emery board and distressed it so it looked like an aged sleigh. And then I even had like a little bit of black paint on a baby wipe there that I went over where I sanded to kind of give it more of an aged and an older look. I picked up this little Christmas tree. This came from like the little village section that Dollar Tree always has, and I just thought it would be really cute to have this tied onto this sleigh, like somebody's bringing their Christmas tree home for Christmas to decorate it. And I'm just kind of pushing the bristles. It's like a bottle brush, so I'm pushing those bristles out so that way it will lay a little bit flatter against my sleigh. And then I'm just using hot glue. I did take off the snow base of that because it didn't look very realistic, if you will, on there. So I just wrapped the base in some twine to kind of look like the trunk of the tree. And then I glued that on, and I decided to glue it on upside down, like that was how they had placed it, like it had just kind of fallen over on the sleigh. And I tied it down with some twine to look like the tree was tied down with rope, and just put a little teeny bow on the top of that. So now you can see I have this little wreath I'm going to put onto this sleigh, and I had this little ornament that came from Walmart. Dollar Tree has some cute little ornaments too that would be darling on there, or you wouldn't have to do one at all. I just really like the fact that it had a cute little thing on there to say sleigh ride, since I'm kind of going with the sleigh theme on here. And here's all three of these sleighs together. I just think they all turned out so cute. They were so fun to create. So now I'm going back to the base of the sign because we're going to let everybody know that they can park their sleighs here. So I'm just taping some tissue paper to just a regular piece of copy paper. And you just want to make sure that this it's like the dull side is what's up. So there's a shiny side and a dull side to tissue paper. I put the shiny side towards the paper because I want the ink to go onto the dull side of the paper. Now I just fed this through my printer like a piece of paper. I just found some script and wrote this in Word, put it through. I have an inkjet printer, not a laser printer. I just make sure that that ink is very, very dry before I put any Mod Podge. And you can see how the ink kind of bleeds through onto the paper. Now I'm taking a little brush with some water on it, and I'm just going around the parking, the sleigh parking, and just ripping that. This will give it a natural edge rather than a cut edge, and that way when you Mod Podge this down, it will kind of disappear into the background. So I just do a thin layer of Mod Podge, and I'm having a very hard time holding onto the sign, but I want to do this all over. So when you do this, make sure the Mod Podge goes all over, not just where your words go, because you want the sheen and the finish to look cohesive. And then I just did my best to eyeball how I wanted that centered, and then I work from the middle out with just dabbing my finger and making sure there are no wrinkles or anything, and I just kind of go up to the edge, and then you can kind of say I pull it taut there, and then keep doing that. And if your tissue paper will allow you to kind of pick it up, if you get a wrinkle or two, do it, but if you feel that it's going to start to tear, just embrace the wrinkles and just let it be a part of the sign. So I take a little bit of Mod Podge and I go over the edge, not over the ink. I'm just going over the edge. Now, if this had dried for several days, I could probably go over the ink and be fine, but I'm going to show you what I'm going to do to seal this instead. I have this clear glaze Krylon, and I'm just going to spray this over the top. And I just make sure this goes all over to give the same sheen, and just a little spritz on there, and then I let that dry completely. Then after that's dry, I just take a little bit of white paint, and on my little brush, just very lightly dry brush over the letters to make it blend into the background of that sign. I just think that is super cute. I'll link the font name if I can down in my description box. And then I stained those cute little pegs, and I just screwed those back on and hung these little sleighs from it. And you guys, I think this turned out so, this might be one of my favorite Christmas crafts ever. It's so cute. It was so fun. You can personalize it. You could have all of like your kids or your grandkids decorate a cute little sleigh to hang from it. So next time you're at Dollar Tree, pick up one of those laundry signs and look for some cute little sleighs, or even if you had different ornaments you wanted to decorate and hang from it. It would be so cute. For this DIY, I'm going to print on tissue paper, and these DIYs, when I do them, are so wildly popular, and I thought I would just show you maybe how to use it and make a quick gift idea. So I'm just taking some tissue paper here, and I'm just going to kind of spread it out, and then I'm going to tape it onto the back of this paper. Now, when I'm taping this down, I want to eventually, as I'm taping it as I go here, want to have every edge taped, or I want as little untaped as possible. So hopefully you can see what I'm doing here and what I mean by that. So when I feed this through my printer, I don't want any of like the raw edges to catch or anything like that and tear the tissue paper. Now, I always get asked what type of printer I have. I have an inkjet printer. It is just a Hewlett-Packard 3600 series printer. So it was just like an $80 printer from Walmart. Now just make sure you know which side of your paper is going to go into your printer, so that way it prints on the correct side. So you just want to know which way to face this when you put it through your printer. Now at Walmart, they have these cute little wooden signs. They're a little less than Dollar Tree. The one downside to this is they staple that staple into where the little hanger goes, which does kind of add a little bit of blemish to the back. I made it the back of the my sign here, so I just had to sand that off because it was a little difficult to get off. So I paint this with some white chalk paint, and then I'm just going to take this sign here. Now this is what I printed out. I downloaded this off of Etsy. I will go ahead and leave a link to that. But you could use any image, even a picture of somebody that you have to print out. How cute would that be to do like a family picture of someone? So I just cut that out to the size, and I'm just going to use some Mod Podge here, and I just do a very, very thin layer of Mod Podge, and I just smooth that out because you don't want your tissue paper to get so wet that it's going to rip. So I just center that, and I just am lightly holding it over the top. And once I realize where I want it centered, I start working from the middle and just smoothing it with my finger towards the outside edge. So this is sped up a little bit, so I am moving a little bit slower than what it shows here, but you can see it's just smoothing it out with your finger. If you have any wrinkles, you can kind of lift your tissue paper up. If it starts to tear or like be tough to pull up, just stop, embrace those wrinkles, and they're just going to be there and it's going to be fine. If it's dry enough, you can go ahead and use your brayer to flatten it out as well. Now, because of the nature of the edge of this sign that I wanted to leave, that is why I cut it with scissors and then I sanded the edge of it to kind of get the raw edge off of it. You can use water to kind of tear out your designs. However, I wanted the edge left on there. I didn't want to have that torn edge on my sign this time. Now, I'm just using some antiquing wax and just going around the edge to kind of make it all look weathered, because my image that I got would not go directly to a 5x7 size. So I had a little bit of edge left on my sign. So I just covered that up by using some antiquing wax. Then I just took some thicker twine, tied it in a knot, and just used my staple gun to add a little hanger to it. I think this turns out absolutely darling. I mean, would you like to get this as a gift? I think it's so cute. I love it. I can't wait. I have somebody in mind that I'm going to give it to. I'm not going to say in case they watch this, but I just think this turns out absolutely darling and such a cute little idea. I fell in love with this Joy to the World sign and the cute plaid trees on Kirkland's website. It does retail for $29.99. Let's see if we can do better. Any frame that you can find will work for this. I happen to have this frame from IKEA. They do sell them for around $7 or $8, I believe. I am just going to take off the matting and that paper, and I'm going to just reveal this little backing here. I'm going to use this and spray paint it black and use that for my scene. I like the idea of doing this because then if I want to reuse this frame throughout the year, I can still just place a picture right over the top of it and it will still be waiting there for Christmas next year. I chose to cut my Christmas trees out on my cutting machine, but do what works best for you. You could easily take some different Christmas tree shapes and trace them on the back of different scrapbook papers and freehand cut them out. That would work very well. I'm just using some purple glue stick on the back of my trees to get them to adhere. I absolutely love this stuff and I feel like it gives a really good bond. I do use my Mod Podge roller just to go over it evenly to make sure that all of those little edges of the tree are stuck down really good. For the lighter colored trees, I thought it would be fun to use a gold vinyl. I thought that would add a really nice shimmer. So I just placed them down kind of like a sticker over the tree. I am not worried about the different texture there, seeing the other tree pop from behind. That doesn't bother me at all. But I just go through and get all of the trees placed similarly to my inspiration piece on Kirkland's website. Using two different fonts that I found online, I will leave a link to those in my description box. I made this little Joy to the World decal on my cutting machine that I'm going to place on the top here. And I really love the feel that this font gives. Of course, I couldn't find the exact fonts that they used on Kirkland's piece, but I felt that these gave a very similar feel, and I really like the way that this looks. And then it's time to just pop the backing back into the frame. I did leave what would be the glass. IKEA does like a little plastic film. So I left that off so that way it was an open look there. So here is the inspiration piece from Kirkland's, you can see. And then here is my piece that I did. What do you think? Did I get close? Do you guys like this one? I think it was about less than $10 that I did. So definitely like a third of the price. I just love this DIY, and I am using a Dollar Tree calendar to do it. I love this December page. I think if you can get your hands on these, definitely get these because there's some beautiful pictures in all of the calendars Dollar Tree has. So I'm just taking a wood round and I'm just tracing it around on this calendar page, and I'm just using my trusty Elmer's glue, you guys. Or if you know me, you know I love this glue. I feel like it does such a good job. So I use it in a lot of my projects. So I'm just putting it all over that wood round, and then I am going to line up as best as I can this calendar page. Now, It doesn't go all the way to the edges, as you can see, and you'll see what I do to kind of fix that. There's a lot of different methods you could do. I'm covering up that hole right now just by placing another little piece behind it that I cut off of one of the edges so it blends right in. It really does disguise that hole. Now I'm just taking the little scraps of the pieces that I had cut off when I made it a circular shape, and I'm just kind of lining those up with some of the wood grain that are on the sides. So that's kind of how I take care of it. Now you can do painting hacks, you could use pages from another calendar page. However you would like to do it, you can use a smaller round so that way you know that it's going to fit. Now, you guys, did you see the price of this sign right here? It was like $1.36 or something like that. I got this at the wedding section at Hobby Lobby, and honestly, the wedding section is one of the most underrated aisles in a craft store, because a lot of people just kind of overlook it. They don't think they need to go down because, oh, I don't know anybody that's getting married, or I'm not, so you kind of ignore it. There are some amazing deals, amazing things down those aisles. So just keep that in mind. Now I'm just taking some styrofoam here, some floral foam, and I am just gluing this in the middle of this sign. And I did kind of cover it up with paint. You end up not seeing any of the design, so I really didn't need to paint it, but I'm just lining that wood round up as best as I can. Now I am making a 3D layered sign. If you guys have watched my channel for any length of time, you know that these are some of my favorite DIYs to make. These actually, I've been making these signs for years. I absolutely love them. They're so fun to do for different holidays, and they are always such like a crowd pleaser, if you will, if you're going to resell things or anything like that. I just love how these turn out. You really can customize this with the design that you use on the front of your sign and the different florals. I purchased all of these florals from Walmart. That's where I happened to be the day that I was picking out things for the projects. And so that's where these came from, but Dollar Tree makes some beautiful florals. So you can do this as economically as you would like, or you can kind of go for a little bit more. I find that Walmart honestly is pretty comparable in price and what you get is to Dollar Tree. So I just take these little pine sprigs that I got. I was 2 of those that I used, that I cut the little stems off to place all the way around. Now I think of this like a clock when I'm making it. So if I have like 4 of something or 8 of something, I mean, I kind of spaced out like hands on a clock. I hope that when I say that you can kind of see what I mean by that. But when I pick out my picks, I like to pick different textures and different colors. So whatever looks good, and I'll pick at least 2 or 3 up of a sprig or a pick that I like. And then when I'm doing these signs, I just cut them down so it's just like each individual little stem that I'm sticking in. But you can kind of see these little gold branches here, add a different little like element of texture there that you probably weren't missing. And then when I added them in, you know, I felt like it did kind of just something else to look at. One thing that I do is I go over the calendar with a page with a little bit of white chalk paint to kind of fade it a little bit, to give it a more distressed look. And I go around the edge with some antiquing wax to add a little bit more dimension to it. But look at how absolutely stunning this is. This is such a statement piece, and you can customize it so many different ways with different florals, different things on your front plaque there. Please let me know your thoughts on this, and if you like to see these type of signs keep coming, because these are some of my most favorite to make. Are you guys on Instagram? If you are, I would love if you would come and find me. I am Farm Charm Chic over there. I'll leave a link down in my description box so you can easily find me. But come and see what I'm working on. I post there quite a bit. I like to show you things that I'm working on, or when I have videos ready. It's just another place to stay in touch. So if you do come find me, remember to send me a DM and say hi, because I do love meeting new friends. When I was looking through Walmart for things to dupe, I saw this, I'm not really sure, it's like a door hanger. It's not really quite a swag. It's got like burlap on the back and some beautiful florals, but I thought I could definitely recreate that. So I just took some burlap fabric that I had. You can get some just at your fabric store. I got mine at Hobby Lobby. And then I just kind of roughed the edges up a little bit to give it a rustic look just by peeling the threads as you saw there. Now to hang this, what I'm doing is I'm just taking a little dowel rod that I had. This is one of the ones I got in a pack of like 12 from Dollar Tree. And I'm just tying some twine on, and I am just going around and gluing this twine on there and wrapping it around. This was the best way that I could come up with to hang this. So if you can think of a different way to do that, then by all means do that if you think it'll work better. But this actually works really well. So I just take that twine over to the other side and do the exact same thing by tying it off, and then I just glue the excess of the twine around the edge of that. And then all I'm going to do is take this rod now to my burlap, and I'm just going to, I put a little bit of glue, and I'm just showing you here because I forgot to hit record when I actually glued my one down. But I put glue on the one side of the rod and glue on the other, and then folded it over. So you can see what it looks like there on my one that's complete. And so now I'm just taking, I got this garland at JoAnns, and with all of the coupons and discounts, it ended up only being like $4.50, and it's like 9 feet of garland. So I'm using almost all of it, not quite all of it, because I just didn't need it quite that long. But you can see how there were those 2 round hooks from the ends. I just wrapped those 2 round eye hooks together there, and then I'm just fluffing up the garland, and I'm taking one more piece and I'm just going to wrap it around the top there. Now you can zip tie this if you want a little bit more of a secure hold. I would suggest doing that if you're going to put it like on your front door or outside, but if it's just going to hang somewhere, like I plan on putting this on my pantry door, I think it's going to be just fine the way that it is. So I'm just going through fluffing this up and making it look nice and fluffy. Sometimes when you get great deals on garlands like these, they're not like the best garlands in the world. They're, I don't want to say cheap, but they are. So you just want to fluff them up as much as you can to give them a little bit more expensive look. And I picked up these little poinsettia, is it poinsettia or poinsettia? I'm not really sure. Anyway, I picked these up at Dollar Tree, and they come with 2 or 3 on a little package there. And I thought they would be really cute, just kind of clipped all over. I didn't have any big poinsettias to put on there like the one from Walmart, so I thought this would kind of give it the same feel. Now I have these berry picks right here that came off of a floral arrangement I got at the thrift store, but I loved the size of them, so I just peeled those off from the floral arrangement I had and just kind of twisted them on. Now this is a duo pack of these tags that come from Dollar Tree. They're white on one side, almost like a dry erase board texture, and then I flipped them over because paint does not stick to that dry erase texture unless you sand it or Mod Podge it or something. So I just flipped them over because I'm going to be gluing this onto the wreath or together, and I just painted them red, and I just cut with my Cricut out Merry Christmas. You could easily stencil, you could do stickers, you could handwrite if you have beautiful handwriting. I don't have the best handwriting in the world, so I like to use my cutting machine. So whatever you have, do that. And I just tied these together here, and then I just kind of placed them so you could see where it said Merry Christmas, and glued them together because I felt like on the one from Walmart, they kind of flopped around and they would turn around different directions, and sometimes it would be out of order. So I wanted to glue mine together to hold them. And I just tie them to the top of this little garland here. And I just use my pencil to kind of poke a hole through the burlap there, since burlap's kind of got that big spacing in it anyway. It was really easy to do that. And I just tied it on with some twine, and I turned it over just to make sure I got a really good tie on there. Zip ties would work well also. Now I'm just measuring out where I want my burlap to end. I wanted to hang a few inches past my garland, and so I cut that off, and then I'm just pulling some of those threads to give it that rustic look. And here the project is completed. It was too tall for me to get all in my big frame, so I had to turn my camera to do a vertical picture, but this is what it looks like here. I think it turned out so beautiful. How pretty would this look hanging from a front door? I think this would be such a beautiful greeting for anyone. As I mentioned earlier, I plan on hanging this on my pantry door. It's going to add that really bright Christmas feel to my kitchen, and I'm so excited to use it. I would love to know your thoughts on this one and how I did on my dupe, if I did a really good job or not. When I saw this canvas sign on Kirkland's website, I absolutely fell in love with it, but check out that price. I think we can definitely do better than that. I found this Merry Christmas sign at Hobby Lobby. I have seen similar ones at Dollar Tree that are a little bit thinner, so keep that in mind. But all of the Christmas stuff at Hobby Lobby is 40% off, so that definitely makes it a good deal. And I love the three-dimensional look that the thicker sign gives. So I'm using these 2 longer signs from Dollar Tree, and I am just removing the design off the back of them. honestly, I'm not sure why I did this because I did end up covering it with craft paper. Obviously, my elf sign, I wanted to remove like the ridges of his little hat there. But this other sign, I take the little heart off because, of course, as any DIYer knows, you're going to totally repurpose that. But I don't know why I go through and tear off all of the little pieces of this home sign, but I do anyway. So, and it actually peels off rather easy, but again, I do end up covering it with craft paper, so it's not necessary to do that. These little hanging ribbons, twine, and tags on the back there, I just go through and remove, and then I'm using some needle nose pliers, and I'm just using the corner of my little scraper tool there. That way, my putty knife, I guess it's called, but that way it kind of lifts it up so I can go in with my needle nose pliers to get those out because they're in there pretty good. So to get these two signs to stick together, I'm lining them up with what edges fit the best and then just putting a bead of hot glue. And then I am using jumbo craft sticks. You get these at Walmart. And I didn't realize there when I did it, I need to leave a space in the middle because I'm going to put another one up the middle to give it a little bit of support there. And then this is where you would get your craft paper and you would just hot glue some craft paper onto the back of it. On the front side of it, I cover it completely with white chalk paint. You could spray paint it. You can paint it with chalk paint, acrylic paint, house paint, whatever kind of paint you want. I am taking some like washi tape is what this I guess is called from Dollar Tree. And guys, I had no idea if this would work or not, or if all of my lines would bleed together. So this was a totally new thing for me, but I am stenciling these stripes on. Essentially, all I did was just look at the original piece and come up with some spacing that I wanted for my lines. So it has the larger stripe down the middle and then two smaller stripes on the side. So that is how I placed my tape. To stencil, you just want to use a very minimal amount of paint on your sponge brush. So I am just dabbing up and down the seams, like you can kind of see exactly what I'm doing there, right along the tape. That is going to seal it. You just want to go straight up and down, not use like a swiping motion. That is going to make sure that it seals those lines to stop any bleed through. Now, as you can see, I did get a little bit of paint on the actual sign, so I took a wet Q-tip and I was able to get the paint off from that way. Obviously, if that hadn't have worked, I could just go back in with some white and cover it up that way too, but it worked really well with the wet Q-tip. You're going to do the exact same process on the other side to make the stripes on the other side of the sign, so that is what I'm doing here. Here is where we find out if this Dollar Tree washi tape works to do stenciling, and I was very impressed. I thought it worked very well. Look at how crisp and clean those lines came out. So definitely keep your eye open. That tape is in the Crafter's Square at Dollar Tree. I will definitely be buying some more of this. Look at how nice those lines look. So on this Merry Christmas sign, I'm just going to cut the little twine hanging piece off there because we're obviously not going to need that. And I just paint this completely with red paint. Use your choice of red paint. I'm just using Waverly's Crimson color. Using hot glue, I just go ahead and center the Merry Christmas in the middle of the sign. And if there's any glue that comes out or anything, I just use my weeding tool to clean that up. Here is a look at the original version, our inspiration piece that was $90. What do you guys think? Do you think I came close on this one? I personally absolutely love this. I'm excited to use it. And I would say that easily less than like $6 or $7. I'm going to make a reindeer crossing sign, and I'm going to use this little ornament sign from Dollar Tree. So I'll just remove this top metal portion that I don't need. And I'm using this little wood round that I have to kind of finish off and trace that perfect circular shape so I can cut the top of this sign off. Now, the reason I didn't just use that wood round was because it is kind of warped, and I do want this to have a very flat shape to it. So I'm just going to paint this with 2 or 3 coats of red paint. You can do this in whatever color matches your decor the best. And I will leave a link to this graphic down in my description box. But I just found this on Etsy and I thought it was so darling, and I loved the font that it was in and the little name of all the reindeer around the edges. I thought it was so cute. And the holly and the ivy in the chorus, it does talk about the running of the deer. And I thought, what could be cuter than the running of the deer than to have a reindeer crossing sign to go with it. Now this part would be completely optional, but I like to make everything a little bit more farmhouse. So I do go out into my garage and just cut a few pieces of the salvaged barnwood that we have from one of our barns that we tore down. And I'm just going to make a background for this sign to go against. And to keep all of these pieces together to connect them, I'm just cutting a painter stick here in half that I will use as my piece to hold all of the background together. So you'll kind of see what I do with that here. And then, of course, since it's barnwood, I've got to brush it off and make sure that there's nothing gross on it or anything. So I have these pieces and I just measured them with my sign on the top of it to see how big I wanted to cut it and how much I wanted showing through. Right now, I am just trying to decide if I want like the rougher, more rustic side to show or the smoother side to show. So it's whatever is, preference on this one. Again, this is just absolutely optional. You could easily, if you want to do the whole process I'm doing, do a canvas or do any type of bigger sign that you have and do whatever kind of finish on that you would like. You don't have to have barnwood to do this part. So I'm just using some wood glue on these painter sticks to hold these together, and I quickly realized after I glue this down that this is not exactly how I needed to do this because I need to be able to clamp this down onto the wood, and so I have to move it up a little bit to the edge because these clamps that I have right here were not working for how I wanted to do it. And I decided for a little bit of security to put some wood glue on the inside of my slats. So definitely follow this process I'm doing right here. And then when I place down my cross piece of wood at the top, I put it close enough to the top that I can just use some little, I'm not even sure what type of clamps these are called, just some like hand clamps maybe, just to kind of clip that onto it because that would give it the best hold. And I just let that dry completely. And I'm showing you here like I'm hitting this pretty hard and it is not coming apart. You definitely could use some staples or anything in there that you would like to, but I just had the wood glue, so that's what I went with. This sign looks so cute with that barnwood in the background. So again, you could even stop here and just leave it like that because that definitely looks cute. But I am using a piece of styrofoam in the back of this sign, and I'm cutting a bunch of different types of Christmas picks. I got some from Hobby Lobby. It's a mixture of that and Dollar Tree picks. So whatever you have, of course, since I'm going with the holly and the ivy theme, I thought it would be fun to use a lot of holly throughout it. And I did realize the bottom of the barnwood there is not, it's not finished like where I cut it. It's kind of that raw wood. So I'm using antiquing wax on there and it's the exact color of the barnwood. So you can't get much more farmhouse than that. So I will just glue the styrofoam piece into the center there. And I decide that I want to use some E6000 and stick that on there. And then I just hold it until it stays. But you can see how I just go through and I'll place just sporadically how it looks pleasing to my eye is how I go through and place all of these little picks in here all the way around. I just love these little crystal icicle-y looking branches that came from Dollar Tree. And so I just put these on all of my corners. Actually, I think I put a little bit more than all of the corners, but I just love how these look. And I thought they looked so pretty, kind of since they were hanging over the edges more. They just brought a little bit of sparkle into it, which sometimes when you're doing farmhouse and barnwood and stuff, it's fun to have a little bit of sparkle like that, kind of glams it up a bit. But I'm just using some E6000 and some hot glue for that long and short-term hold here on the styrofoam. And you know, since hot glue sometimes doesn't work the best with styrofoam, you want to just make sure that you hold this sign down to make sure that it stays. And so I just kind of hold it for a little bit. But look at how cute this is looking. I'm absolutely loving it. I'm taking just some antiquing wax that's left on my brush from when I stained the raw part of the wood, and I just go around the edge to give it a little definition and then just brush it over the top. What it does is kind of make those letters pop a little bit more. It's kind of hard to see on camera, but it definitely made a big difference in person. Right, what do you guys think? Did I do a good job with this one? I am so excited about it. I think it turned out beautifully. You can also add like a hanger on the back if you want to hang it. I love using pizza pans from Dollar Tree to make signs out of, and they always turn out so cute. So I've decided to do one with my snowman theme, and I found the cutest little SVG off of Etsy. I'll leave the link to it down in my description box that I thought fit perfectly. Now, my trick to painting on pizza pans, I always get asked tons of questions about this, of how I get it to work, and there's a few different ways. So the first thing I do is, well, the first thing I would recommend is sand it a little bit with your sandpaper so your Mod Podge and your paint has something to adhere to. So I am just using Mod Podge here, and I do one thin coat. I let that dry completely. I walk away from it for like an hour, let it dry, come back, and then put another little coat on it. You want them to dry completely because this is what your paint is going to stick to. And just 2 small thin coats, and that makes sure you get the coverage that you want. That's at least how I do it. After that second layer has completely dried, you can do one of 2 things. You can spray paint, which I do recommend. However, I got snow where I lived this week, so I had to chalk paint, and I'm just doing thin layers. So you can just see this is my first layer here, and then I go back in with my second layer. If you choose to do this way or have to do it with your chalk paint, it's going to take you about 7 or 8 layers or coats of paint. This is 8 coats that I did of just thin layers. Now, I did get this little decal off of Etsy. I did use my cutting machine to cut it out. A lot of times you'll be able to find some people who sell circular that fit, actually, because these Dollar Tree pizza pan signs are so popular. You'll be able to find sellers that will sell the actual decals that they've cut out that they'll ship to you. I do have tutorials on how to print on tissue paper if you don't have a cutting machine. So there are several options that you can use. And so this is how I like to peel back when I do my transfer papers. I like to peel backwards like this. I feel like I have a little bit more success with that. Sometimes if you guys have worked with transfer paper, you all know that it's not all created equal and it does not always work like you want it to. So now I am just lining this up as best as I can. I'm not one that measures a whole lot, but I do kind of look at those circles on the top and the bottom and just kind of gauge where they are with the sign. Now when I'm pulling this back, I'm just being very careful. You can kind of see there was one little area there that the paint did start to come up. I just pushed it down and rubbed it down, and that paint went right back down. And then I just am very gentle as I pull this off. If there's ever an area that does pull a little bit of the paint off, you just go back in and touch it up after. You just have to be very delicate doing this process. Now, one thing that I love to do with vinyl is it kind of has a shiny feel, a lot of it. Even if you use the matte, I still do this, is I go in with a dry brush and brush over all of the vinyl. I think that gives it a nice little aged look, a weathered look, and it kind of dulls down the sheen that comes from the vinyl that you're using. And I feel like it just makes it look more stenciled, and I just really like how the look of that is. I think this sign is absolutely timeless. I think it turned out so beautiful. Honestly, I mean, Frosty and Snowman are always going to be relevant when it comes to decorating for winter and Christmas time. I mean, seriously, think about it. Snowmen are never going out of style. When it comes to Christmas decorating, they're always going to be around. And so I really feel that this sign is just elegant and timeless. I am so excited to show you guys this DIY because it is one of my favorites from today. Well, they're all my favorites. I always say that, but I really do love this one and it was so fun to do. So I am just going to do some decoupaging with a napkin. So I found these napkins at Dollar General and I thought this cute little truck on the front and it says home for the holidays. I thought it was so cute. So if it's a couple, like 2-ply, you want to go ahead, you just want to make sure that you're left with one layer. Otherwise your Mod Podge, it's not going to work quite right. Take my advice because I've learned the hard way. And then I do have this back that I found at Hobby Lobby, but you could do whatever sign blank that you had. I just liked the planks in this one and it's what I had in my stash. And so that's why I ended up using this, but easily any type of background that you have, even from Dollar Tree or anywhere, would work fine. So I am just going to cut off this little hanging thing. We're going to replace it, but I wanted to be able to dry brush some paint on this. And I believe I'm using the cashew color in Waverly's chalk paint. I just kind of picked it to match the color of my napkin. And so when I decoupage the napkin on, it will blend in really well. And of course you just do this as thick as you want on there. And then I am just going to place the napkin down, and you probably could just go ahead and decoupage it that way and it would be fine. Mod Podge it, I guess I should say, and it would be just fine. But I am going to kind of cut this little design out. And I had a lot of people on one of the last decoupage projects that I did mention doing a brush with some water, or a water brush, to kind of cut your napkin around the design. So that's what I'm doing. I'm giving that a try. I'm just getting a really fine brush and I'll dip it in the water. And then you just have to remember that the water will bleed just a little bit. And then I will just kind of tear this away from where I am working. So the other was sped up considerably. This is real time right here. So it does take a little bit of time to do this, but honestly, I felt like this gave a much better look than just cutting it out with scissors. However, I have done it with scissors and it does look fine. But see how you kind of get those little torn edges there? That just kind of, when you Mod Podge, those just blend in to make it look like it's part of the background. So super cute. And we'll just speed this up a little bit here so you can kind of see. I just go through the whole design, and I do take off the home for the holidays part, so I put that on separately. And on the words, I just get as close to the words as I can without actually cutting into the words. And then I do put some Mod Podge down on my sign, and I don't think I showed that, but I'm showing it here with the words here. But just Mod Podge in the area where these go, and then I just gently lay them down, and then you are gently, gently, gently going to go over the top of them with some Mod Podge. And I was able to kind of pull that up to get it straight, so that way any wrinkles can get out. Now you do not want to use your Mod Podge roller on when you're working with the napkins, because from my experience, it literally just shreds it. It just tears it because it's so fine and so delicate. And so just keep that in mind. I'm just working with the brush, and remember, this is very sped up. I am going slow and I am taking my time, so that way even the brush bristles does not rip the napkin. But you can kind of see it just fades into that background, and how like it looks like it was just made to go on there. Now, right here, I'm just taking, you could even use like a gift card or a Cricut, like I'm just using my Cricut weeding tool to kind of go through and just indent the area of the planks in the sign. That would be completely optional. And again, there's plenty of other things you could use than having to use like a Cricut tool, like a gift card or credit card or something like that would even work really easily. And then I'm just going over the part of the sign that I had not put Mod Podge on, so it all has the same type of finish, if that makes sense. And then I'm just going to feed through some twine and tie that off on each end. And then I finish it off with a little bit of Mod Podge on the end so it doesn't fray and it won't come untied. And if you ever get like wonky jute twine that kind of curls up, or especially when you get to like the middle of your roll, just spray a little bit of water on it and it straightens right out. So I'm showing you just, I'm taking a little bit of evergreen and I just roll it around with some twine and then just use some hot glue to glue that off. And then I add a little bit of berries and a cute little bow. This is total personal preference. I just thought it looked really cute. But let me know what you guys think. Would you have ever known that this was a napkin on this little sign here? I really hope you guys enjoyed these Christmas wall hanging and sign DIYs. I hope that you feel inspired by them. I would love for you guys down in the comments today to wish a Merry Christmas to all of the subscribers and viewers of this video and channel. And what I think would be so fun is for you guys to put where you're from, and so we can read through the comments and see all of the different places around the world that is wishing Merry Christmas to everybody. I just think it would be so fun to see where you guys are all from. You guys, thank you so much for watching and have an amazing day. Happy crafting! If you like the video that you just saw and you want to keep crafting together, here's another video that you might enjoy. And as always, remember to like and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.